In last lecture, we studied the composition of manufacturing sector of Pakistan and its the contribution in 2019 and 20 in the GDP as it was the 13 to 14% and the 16.1% share in the total labor force. And we saw that there are the three subsector of the manufacturing sector of the Pakistan: large scale manufacturing, small scale manufacturing, and tailoring. Large scale manufacturing 78% share in manufacturing sector, 9.5% in GDP, and small scale 15.2% share in manufacturing and 2.0 share in the GDP, while the tailoring sector has 6.9% share in manufacturing and 0.94% share in the GDP. Though this overall the manufacturing is very important for the growth of the economy and overall growth of the GDP, but we saw the negative trend in 2019 and 2020 financial year, and large scale manufacturing growth rate was minus 22.9% in March 2020 as compared to minus 7.35%. Month on month based analysis also shows the constant growth rate or the decreasing growth rate over the time period. It is for the textile, it is for the food, beverages, and tobaccos, and then it is fertilizer, automobiles, and non-metallic mineral products, and it is the overall month on month basis growth rate of large scale manufacturing sector of Pakistan. It is from July 2019 to March 2020, which is minus 21.99%. Here it is given some explanation that why the sectors are this decreasing trend, that there were some physical and monetary adjustment. फॉर एग्जांपल फ्लेक्सिबल एक्सचेंज रेट, जब एक्सचेंज रेट को फ्लेक्सिबल किया गया तो आपने देखा कि पाकिस्तानी रुपी वाज depreciated by 3.9%, and there were some other issues. For example, depreciation of the rupee lead to the increase the cost structure of the industry in general and particular for those relying on import raw material. कि आपका जब करेंसी डेप्रिशिएट होती है तो आपकी इम्पोर्ट्स जो सी एक्सपेंसिव हो जाती है, जिसकी वजह से वो इंडस्ट्रीज जो इम्पोर्टेड रॉ मटेरियल यूज़ करती हैं उनकी कास्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज होगी. इसके अलावा फर्दर पॉलिसी रेट मीन रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट इन्फ्लेशन को मेंटेन रखने के लिए, कम रखने के लिए इंक्रीज किया गया, लेकिन इंक्रीजिंग रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट इज ऑलवेज डिस्करेज द इन्वेस्टमेंट. So there were some factors, and there were some also other factors which were related to the large scale manufacturing. Automobile sector alone accounted for a major portion of the contraction in the large scale manufacturing, and its prices witnessed multiple upward revision due to the Pakistani rupee depreciation. So this the performance of this year overall was not good, क्योंकि इस टाइम पीरियड में गवर्नमेंट ने काफ़ी लोन भी रिपे करने की कोशिश की है. उधर से करेंसी की डेप्रिसिएट होने की वजह से मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर का नेगेटिव ग्रोथ रेट फॉर द टाइम पीरियड. इसमें मेजर हमारे आउटपुट में कॉटन यार्न है, शुगर है, कुकिंग ऑयल है, वेजिटेबल घी, डीजल, मोटरसाइकिल, फर्टिलाइजर. ग्रुप वाइज इसके ये आपके साथ में थर्ड चैप्टर है पाकिस्तान इकोनॉमिक सर्वे का. तो ये ग्रोथ रेट 2018 और 19 एंड 2019 to 20 दिया हुआ है. मोस्ट of the sectors are going negative: -2, -2, -17 coke and petroleum, -36 automobiles, and -7 iron and steel. Electronics, you see here, it is -13, and wood products -22. So this year was not good for the manufacturing sector of the Pakistan. Our next Topic is the process of industrialization in Pakistan from 1947 onward. When Pakistan became in existence in 1947, there was no industrial base and it was a very poor country. And after that, we come a long way. There are different phases from 1947 to onward based on the growth rate and on the policies adopted by the different governments. We divide this time period roughly in the six phases. At the time of the independence, Pakistan inherited only 34 industry units and out of 921 industry units in subcontinent, बाकी सारी जो उनकी थी वो इंडिया में थी, only 34 were in the Pakistan. And they were the cotton, textile, cigarette, sugar, rice, husking, cotton ginning, and the flour milling industries. And they contributed only 7% to the GDP of the Pakistan, and there were only 26,000 people were employed in these industries. These six phases are first phase from 1947 to 1957. It was the time period that the country was newly born and politically immature, and in this time period, this 11-year period, eight prime ministers came into power, and not a single prime minister was strong enough to pursue the industrial policy very well. Second phase was, which is also called the decade of development, was 1958 to 1968, which was the Ayub Khan era. Phase 3, the experimental regime of Bhutto 1972 to 1977. And then Zia regime, it was from 1977 to 1988. And then from 1988 to onward, industry after structural adjustment program. In the first phase, 1947 to 1957, Pakistan and 1957 to 1960, Pakistan opted for the import substitution industrial policy. It means that we should restrict our import and we should produce the goods domestically. During this period, the policy emphasis on import substitution, government had established a committee to formulate the industrial policy, and the committee emphasized on manufacturing industries, reduction of the imports, and set the social and economic advantages to the country. Pakistan Industrial Finance Corporation and Pakistan Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation were established in 1948. To create skilled labor, a Swedish Park Institution of the Technology was established in 1955, and Pakistan Industrial Technical Systems Center was established in 1956. This phase is given in detail here. In 1960s, Pakistan GDP growth rate was 6.7%, and which we called it the decade of the development, and it was a time period when Pakistan was a model country for the development. So you see these phases in detail. First, which was the 1947-58 exchange and trade policies and import substitution industrialization. Main theme of this time period was that industrialization should be based on the import substitution. There are the two policies to be followed. One is trade-oriented industrialization and other is the import substitution industrialization. Trade-oriented industrialization means export-oriented industrialization means that we should facilitate the industries which are producing the exportable goods. While the import substituting industrialization means that those industries are encouraged in this process which can produce the goods which we have to import from abroad. In this situation, we can save our foreign reserve. आपको चीज़ें इम्पोर्ट भी नहीं करनी बट फिर आपकी इंडस्ट्री भी फ्लोरिश करती है 1947 1958 पाकिस्तान फॉलो दिस पॉलिसी but in this period there was a problem industry growth at very high rate there was a in agriculture sector which was neglected completely और इस टाइम पीरियड में जैसा कि हमने पिछले चैप्टर्स में देखा था कि इंडस्ट्री वाज ग्रोइंग बट द एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर ग्रोथ रेट वाज इवन नेगेटिव फॉर द सम टाइम पीरियड and at the end of the in about 1958 in 1959, it was recognized that industry cannot develop without the development in the agriculture sector. And then also there was the Green Revolution. So in the which 1958 to onward, which is 1960s, which is called the decade of development, in agriculture and industrial sector both saw a very high growth rate. 1960s में पॉलिसी तकरीबन वही फॉलो की गई जो 1947 से चली आ रही थी, लेकिन उसमें जो इम्पोर्ट्स पे रिस्ट्रिक्शंस थी वो काफ़ी हद तक कम कर दी गई. It is a growth rate of 1950 to 58, large scale manufacturing and small scale manufacturing. And here it is even 28.7 or 24.7% for the sometime period.